We're back on Fight News Now with John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We're going to be discussing Miesha Tate's big win over Holly Holm on Saturday night. This fight was incredible. I mean, you throw out Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz, I think already this card. Listen, the main card had its moment. It's going to be remembered for the last two fights and maybe not so much some of the other stuff on the main card. But nonetheless, Holly Holm losing this title to Miesha Tate. This was an unbelievable fight just to watch the actual progression of Miesha Tate throughout this fight, nearly finishing her in the second. All three judges scoring that round a 10-8. And then Holly Holm rebounding, winning the third, winning the fourth, and was on her way to winning the fifth. And this would have been a decision victory, but Tate ends up getting her back and submits her with just over a minute to go in the fight. I mean, unbelievable just from a dramatic element.
Yeah, what I love is positives from both girls. Like Holly Holm, people are like, oh, you know, she's worked so hard on her takedown defense. There's no way she's going to be good on the ground. We saw her. Miesha's game is the ground game. She is excellent at submissions. And when she had her down, she was was it the second round, constantly pursuing that rear choke. You saw Holly Holm staying calm, defending, and when she had her opportunity, she survived. So
did that surprise you, Holly Holm's ability to withstand that in the second? Because that hasn't been something we've seen a whole lot of from Holly Holm.
Exactly, and I was impressed, and I think that's what you have to expect. You know, a UFC champion isn't there because they're a one-trick pony. They work on all areas, and Holly Holm's worked on all the areas so that she can let her best area, her striking game, shine. So, yeah, and Miesha Tate winning the championship, I don't think anybody's surprised because this is the way that Miesha Tate wins fights. We talked about her tenacious nature and her never-die attitude. It was on full display. And really, this entire card, we were talking about it in 5 rounds. Eric Silva losing to Nordine, who I think was an underdog. Diego Sanchez losing to Jim Miller.
Underdog,
a small underdog, but still, I think most people, if you're objective about things and look at Jim Miller and Diego Sanchez, who's regressed more, and same with Brandon Thatch and Sierra Badarezada.
Teruto Ishihara.
Well,
upsetting Julian Erosa.
Sure,
there you have it.
Lobov did that already. But I think when you look at, that's the sport. Anybody can create openings. You just have to believe in yourself, and Miesha Tate did.
We do often talk about the fact that we advise you do not bet your money on fighting. And do not, no matter how much you learn, the more you learn, the more it changes and the less you truly know. And I'm saying that knowing that you come to us to get some insight into the fights. But the idea of predictions, we're asked to give predictions, and people ask, oh, what's your prediction on? Well, how much information do you have? The more information you have, the more you can help make a prediction. But there's a 1,000, there's a million variables. A butterfly flaps its wings in Texas and Miesha Tate gets the rear naked choke. There are so many variables in fighting, and it's the kind of thing that the more you know, the less you know. The more that you're sure you go into a fight with the game plan, you know how you're gonna win it, they go in different. You think you know who a fighter is, and all of a sudden, you can't look at fighters and think they are what they were last time. You look at, Nate Diaz will fight RDA, next time he'll get his legs kicked off. You don't think Nate Diaz has given some thought to that? You don't think Nate Diaz has spent a year and a half? He's not a static thing. And Holly Holm's the same thing. You think that Holly Holm can't fight on the ground. Well, she developed that ability. And but one thing that is static, Miesha Tate's heart is unbelievable. Her desire is unbelievable. That striving to finish is unbelievable. And coming into this fight, no matter what you predicted of how it was going to go, everybody added that caveat at the end. But Miesha's heart, Miesha wants it, Miesha's driven, and that's what won her this fight.
I heard, some people commenting on the radio that, this is a disaster and looking at, the money,
really?
The money lost. And I think that's just such a short-sighted look at things, because now what you've created is Miesha Tate is now part of this mix, whereas before you had 2 women that people very much wanted to see. Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey is a gigantic fight. When you incorporate, it's Ronda Rousey's return fight after her loss to Holly Holm, going for her title, that now Miesha Tate, who she owns 2 wins over, is holding on top of the grudge factor you have here. That's a gigantic fight. 1 million buys, I think, is a conservative estimate for that third fight involving those 2. And they're much bigger stars than they were for that second fight, much less the first fight they had all the way back in 2012. So that's an option for you. Holly Holm, it's very possible that if Rousey's not coming back till a ways away, they could go to the rematch out of Saturday night's card. There's many different options at the 135-pound weight class. I would say if there's a loser in all of this, maybe it's Amanda Nunes.
Well,
hoping for a title fight.
I get that, but at the same time, you don't want your division to be a one-trick pony. You want it to be deep. When we look at the 155-pound division in the UFC right now, one of the reasons why we love it is because there's a million killers at lightweight. I think most people that tune into the sport, they want to see a competitive division. I don't think people just want to see Ronda Rousey.
But superstars go on Ellen.
Yeah,
people who just smash people and destroy them and win 10 in a row go on Ellen. They go on ESPN.
And they'll get to. I'm sure Miesha Tate will go on Ellen. Didn't Holly Holm go on Ellen after she kicked Ronda?
But she beat Ronda. Does it trickle down again?
Miesha Tate choked
but
Holly
let
Holm
me tell you,
unconscious.
how long has Zuffa owned the UFC?
Since 2001.
Okay, so what are we looking at? 15 years? In 15 years, and I've spoken to them about it, these people don't look at any of this. You talk to Joe Silva. Joe Silva is literally just like, these two will fight and one of them will win. They don't make long-term plans. They don't make plans, if this wins, that'll be great for us, because their hearts have been torn out hundreds of thousands of times thinking that way. They don't think that way at all. And so when people are like, oh my God, the UFC must be so upset, it's probably teenagers thinking that. The fact of and there's no disrespect, man. We were all teenagers once. It's pretty fun being a teenager. It pretty much rules. But they don't think like that. They can't think like that.
They inherited
or else
a new
they'll pull
fight.
out their hair.
24 hours ago, or I should say 48 hours ago at this point, Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate was a fight that no one wanted to see, and I never bought that. I never bought that the third fight there was going to be this, oh God, no one wants to see this. Like no one wanted to see Ken and Tito the third time and did a record number on Spike. I think people would have bought that regardless, and now you have a real reason to do it. So this idea that a star loses a fight and with that loss, all of their celebrity and all of their interest just poof, it's gone. There is no evidence in anywhere in mixed martial arts history that one loss to a star evaporates. We are watching Kimbo Slice to this day set records.
This is a discussion that happens on forums and places where fans love to chat. And it's a fun discussion to have, but it's not true. It doesn't happen. When you ask Dana White, hey, what were you planning for Conor McGregor? Well, if he wanted to fight Lawler. That's literally as far as they would go. Nobody's sitting around with a plan, or they're not laying out posters. They're not trying to figure out how they're going to market it, because they literally go, but man, who knows? He can lose easy. They know it. They've seen it thousands of times. So there's no war room with a bunch of people making a strategy on what to do. They know Ronda could lose that fight to Betchko. They know she could. Maybe not that one, but most of these. They know that they can lose it, and they're ready. Just like in jiu-jitsu, if a guy gets to your back, you don't go, oh my God, a guy's on my back. You just work from the back, and then maybe you'll work it back into half guard, or you'll get back on top. And marketing, life is like that. You go down this one, doesn't go that way. You got a new reality, and you start there. That's it.
If you had to forecast the next women's bantamweight title fight, Miesha Tate defending against John Randy,
I think
if you had your pick of things and all things were equal,
and anybody would do whatever you want.
Yeah, I have to go with Ronda. I think it makes sense. I think you have a story there. You have enough viz to be able to tell this story. There's a rivalry there, and I think both.
Would you sit? Because I agree with that. Would you sit on that fight if we're looking till November?
No, I'm not sitting on that fight. Especially Miesha's a fighter. She wants to fight. I think you can sell a rematch with Holly Holm. Does Miesha want to take this fight with Holly Holm? She said she would, but I think the bigger money fight would be a fight with Ronda Rousey.
We advertised that Ronda Rousey will fight for the title in November, and these two rematch. She's got a story with both of them. I mean, but again, those things change. Ronda injures her foot, somebody changes. It all changes. You can't look too far into the future from a business perspective. And in all this time, they've found, doesn't matter who wins or loses, we love watching fighting.
The place where Holly Holm won her title is where the UFC will host their next event as they return to Australia. This time, though, they will be in Brisbane, headlined by Mark Hunt taking on Frank Mir. We will have a preview show for you Thursday night, March the 17th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.